sorry, it's not within the realm of my licensing. Have you ever heard that before? It's the Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples. I am a real estate broker in the state of Connecticut and the owner of Zone Realty LLC. It's not within the realm of my licensing. What does that mean? Why would a realtor say that to you? First of all, what's a realm? Well, if you look up the definition of the word realm, there's a lot of different meanings of it. Basically, it means an area or something that you're in charge of, or in this case, something you have knowledge of. It's your kingdom, it's your expertise, it is what you rule over. And we all rule over the information that we know, or we've learned, or we've achieved. Realtors have a lot of knowledge. They've gone to school, they do continuing education classes, they've been involved in real estate transactions, they've come across all different kinds of challenges and solved all different types of problems. They've learned as they've gone along through the years how to deal with different things that come up during a real estate transaction. They're also experts at dealing with people. They're good at listening, of working with their clients and understanding what a client wants or needs in a home they wish to sell or purchase. Realtors are go-to sources, but they don't know everything. Nowadays, realtors are under a lot of guidance to be careful on the information that they're able to share with clients. So they don't want to be rude and they don't want to seem like they don't know. But sometimes if they do know something, they can't really tell you because they have the obligation to obey the National Association Code of Ethics or Connecticut state laws. Now, I'm asked a lot of times, Rick, what are you talking about? I mean, what do you mean? I mean, I can't ask my realtor any questions? Well, yes, you can ask your realtor questions, but sometimes that realtor is going to be hesitant or they're going to answer you in saying that they don't know or they'll find out. Or they're going to know the answer to your question and they want to give you an answer, but they can't give you an answer because they're hesitant that they might be giving you either the wrong answer or giving you some kind of advice or guidance that's not within their realm of expertise. Let me give you a couple of examples. Legal questions. Now, legal questions are great. There are a lot of legal questions that come up when you're buying a house or when you're selling a house. There are a lot of what-if scenarios. There are a lot of different things that you need to do to protect yourself as far as representation is concerned and the process is concerned. But a realtor is a licensed person who does real estate. They're experts in the real estate transaction. They're not attorneys. Now, I will step back a bit and say that I do have a couple of realtor friends that are also brokers like I am, and also are attorneys. But they draw a fine line between their real estate careers and their legal careers, and they try not to intermix them. Questions that come up that are legal questions must be addressed to someone that has the licensing and the expertise to answer that question. So a realtor may say to you, you know, that's not within the realm of my licensing. However, I advise that you talk to your attorney. Same thing goes when you're showing a house or looking at a house. When you go into the house and you're walking around and you're looking at different things that the home has to offer, as a buyer, you're going to have a lot of questions. And a lot of times, your realtor can answer those questions if it's based on the data information that's been shared with them. In other words, obviously, you know, how many bedrooms the house has, how many bathrooms the house has. Questions like, do you know how old the roof is? When's the last time the furnace was serviced? Is there anything in particular about the home that you can share with me? You know, those kinds of things. Realtors can share that information. But information they cannot share with you is information that sometimes is always questions that are asked. For instance, can you tell me about the neighborhood? Very justifiable question. What's going on in the neighborhood? Is this a high crime neighborhood? Are the schools good? What are the neighbors like? And so on and so forth. A realtor has to be very careful, and in some cases cannot answer that question. All they can do is refer you or guide you or direct you to someone who can. Maybe a website where you can do some research. Maybe an individual. Maybe a neighbor. But they cannot give you that information. Now, you say to me, well, what's the big deal, Rick? Why can't they give me that information? They can't give you that information because they basically don't live in the neighborhood. Well, I'll take that back. I've sold houses in my own neighborhood, but most of the time the realtor is not within their neighborhood or the street to which they live. So they can't really knowledgeably say to you what the neighborhood's like. They may have had children that have gone through the local school system that your kids are going to, but they can't really tell you about the school system. That's up to you as the buyer to research and get the information on your own. Realtors are hesitant to give you that information because they don't want you to make judgments based on what their opinion is. They also have to be very careful about discrimination. Now, there are fair housing laws that are out there. There are codes that are out there that realtors must follow, as well as anyone that's involved in real estate must follow, which prohibit them from answering certain questions because they do not want to put themselves in a situation where they may be considered being discriminatory against one party or another. And those questions, although you may think not really apply, the simple question of what's the crime like in this neighborhood could be discriminatory. Now, I can't give you the exact legal reason for that. That might be a question you can ask an attorney. But there's plenty of websites out there. There are plenty of sites that your realtor can refer you to, which will give you that information. One of the biggest resources to find out about an area to which you're going to live is the town's resources, the town's website. It will give you history on the town. It will tell you about the population, the mix in the town. It may have crime statistics on it. It may have their schools on it. It has a lot of different information that you can research on your own. And your realtor may direct you to that particular website. You don't have to go to that website. You can go to other websites. But again, the realtor cannot answer those specific questions. Now, there's a lot of questions that come up that are not within the realm, the knowledge, the expertise of the realtor at that particular moment. And they may say to you, well, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with a realtor saying, I don't know. I mean, we like to think as realtors we know everything there is. I mean, I've been in this business for many, many years, and I've seen a lot in my career. And I probably know, based on something I've experienced, but your experience is going to be different. There's a lot of commonality. There are a lot of things in the real estate transaction which, this is the procedure from A to B. This is the procedure. This is how you do this. This is what you're going to do next, and so on and so forth. But every situation is slightly different. We're all different people. We all have different needs. We all have different wants. We all have different outlooks. The realtor can only present to you factual information. They can't give you hearsay. They can't say to you, well, I understand or I heard, those kinds of things. Now, that gets kind of clouded a little bit, because what happens in a situation where a realtor takes you into an area, shows you a home that you decide you would like to make an offer on, and they did not tell you of something that is going on in that specific area. Like, for instance, the house is located on some really nice acreage on the end of a cul-de-sac. It looks very private, and that's one of the things you're looking for. It's surrounded by woods. It's ideal. And the realtor has not disclosed to you that those woods behind you are going to be all torn down and a multi-unit development is going to go in, thus killing all the privacy of that house. Is it the realtor's responsibility to tell you that? Or are they crossing the line? Well, it gets, like I said, it's a little bit of a gray area there. Most realtors, when they go out to show you a property, have already done research on the property, and they can share with you information. So that information is not specifically coming from them. It's information that they have found out on your behalf that they're sharing with you. But again, they have to be very careful. They have to have documentation on that information, because they cannot really influence you. That's a big word. They can't influence you on making your decision whether or not to purchase the house or not. Now, that also flips over to the seller side. When a realtor goes out and they see a seller, one of the first things that they do is, after they've set the appointment, obviously, and come out to your home, is they ask for a tour of the house. This gives them the opportunity to talk to the seller about the home. Now, some realtors will ask questions that they believe buyers may ask. They're going to ask the simple questions about the status of the house. Do you know how old the roof is? Do you know how old the furnace is? When's the last time you had this done? So on and so forth. They're going to gather all this information. And a lot of times they're gathering this information from the seller to confirm what the town may already have on record. There's truth in advertising that realtors have to follow. There's also truth in disclosure of information about a home as far as the data involved in that home. And that's why the multiple listing service is so important to realtors. The multiple listing service is the service that realtors use that list information on properties that all the other realtors that may have buyers look at and analyze and decide on as to whether or not they want to go out and look at that property. So it has to be accurate. It has to be true. It has to be up to the minute. Now, I want to just mention something about data. Sometimes data is incorrect. the realtor is relying on information that they're getting from the local town, from the assessor's office, the field card as they call it, on a property, which shows that in the deed, where the property sits, what the property lines are, the age of the house, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and so on and so forth. But the reason why the realtor goes out to the home, to go through the home with the seller, is to confirm that information before they go putting it into the MLS. Sometimes people do modifications or improvements on their homes, which is not on the town assessor's card. Most towns don't do their assessments on property until a 5-year period. So like once every 5 years they do a reassessment. So during that 5 years, the seller could have put in a new kitchen, they could have added a bathroom, maybe they put a deck on the back of the house, maybe there's a new storage shed in the backyard that's not being reflected on the card. So the realtor goes out and tours the property and looks at the data card, talks to the seller, and sees what actually is there, so that when they're entering that information in the MLS, they're as accurate as they possibly can be. Now, they're being accurate for other reasons. All those websites out there that you go to when you're searching for a home, all the big websites, all the little websites, all the realtor websites, there's a lot of them out there. All of their information is usually coming right off of what realtors have entered into the multiple listing service. So the realtor's making sure that that data is correct and as up to date as possible. Now let me mention something about searches. Sometimes you go on the internet and you see what would look like being the perfect home at the perfect price in the perfect area for you, and you get all excited about it. And then you go out and you look at the property, and the property in no way was represented like what it showed. Not if it's coming from a realtor. Other sites have ways of enhancing information to entice you. Now, we just had an incident a few years back where we had to put some rules and regulations in place about photography. It was very, very popular for realtors, especially on high-end homes, to have professional photographers come out and take pictures. Before that, there were different software programs which has allowed realtors to kind of enhance their photographs a little bit, make the grass look greener, make the house look brighter, be able to show the house in daytime and nighttime, and so on and so forth. But those pictures were misleading. So now realtors cannot do that and will not do that. The pictures that they take are what you're going to see. And if they do hire a professional photographer to go out there and stage photos and take wonderful photos of a home, it's disclosed that it's professional photography. Sometimes if you grab your camera or your cell phone camera and you go out with your friends and you take some pictures, the pictures are good and they're great based on the quality of the camera, but they're not professional photography. In other words, they have not been staged. So you need to be careful. It's not within the realm of my licensing. That is something that is fancy way of saying, I don't know, or let me refer you to someone who does know. Realm. It's not within the realm of my licensing. Well, what does that mean? And why would a realtor say that? Realtors are licensed and trained professionals, but they may not know the answers to all of your specific questions. Some questions will better be referred to those who have the expertise to answer them. It's not within the realm of my licensing. Did you ever wonder why sometimes realtors are so hard to get in touch with? You hire a realtor, they're going to represent your home for sale, or you hire a realtor that you're going to work with and they're going to take you out and show you homes. But every time you call them, it's busy, or you get voicemail. You have a question, you want that question answered. You need to talk to your realtor, and they never answer their phone. Well, there's two reasons for that. Number one, your realtor's busy. They have other clients they're working with. They're marketing. They're trying to get the homes they have listed sold. They're researching. They're doing continuing education. They're talking to appraisers. They're out at home inspections. They're busy. So a lot of times realtors cannot pick up their phone. Another reason why realtors don't pick up their phone is they want you to leave them a voicemail. They want you to text them, or they want you to call them, or they want you to email them and leave a message. This is because the realtor wants to have time to research the answers for you, to make sure that any information they do give you, A, does not conflict with the code of ethics or with discriminatory laws or with local codes, but B, is the most accurate information they could give you. You don't want to work with a realtor that kind of shoots from the hip, as the old saying is, that kind of gives you information that you can't verify, that's opinionated. If I were you, I would do this, or I wouldn't do that, and those kinds of things. You want to avoid that. If you're ever working with a realtor that seems to be more talkative than usual, sometimes it's nerves. Realtors, even me, a number of years in the business, sometimes get a little nervous when they're talking to other people. But you want to make sure that the information that they're sharing with you is as accurate as possible. That's as truthful as possible. So if a realtor says to you, that's not within the realm of my licensing, they're not trying to be fancy. They're not trying to impress you. They're basically telling you that even if I know the answer to your question, for one reason or another, I'm not able to provide you with that answer. It's better for you to go directly to an expert in that particular field to get the proper answer you need, because information is power. Information is going to allow you to either decide to sell your home or to buy a home that you're looking at.
Fair housing. Fair Housing Act prohibits the denial of housing to a person based on a person's membership in one or more protected classes. Protected classes are race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, age, sexual orientation, and disability. In Connecticut, protected classes are expanded to include source of income, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, age, marital status, veteran status, and victim of domestic violence. Your realtor will practice fair housing, and they're guided by the law.
My name is Rick Naples, and this has been The Real Estate Show. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
The water's warm at Jaws Pond, and we're stocked full of treasures. Big or small, we buy it all. We buy and sell fast rides, power tools, vintage guitars, and so much more. Walk the plank in style with our fine jewelry, diamonds, and watches. Plus, we have a huge selection of the latest video games, including the new PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Jaws Pond, conveniently located on Meriden-Waterbury Turnpike in Southington and West Main Street in New Britain.
Follow us on Instagram at nutmeg.tv.